Howdy, howdy. My God, that's painful having to do that. A few minutes early. Half an hour of dicking around with that link. And then whatever Bruce told me to do, I did wrong. It's going all right, man. How about yourself? I had a big old day yesterday and relaxing today. So had an apple picking party with the wife's friends and a giant barbecue. 30 of us or so, food for 80 people. It was insane.
Hey, man.
Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad after all that messing around there and screwing up over and over.
No worries. No worries. I was getting confused.
Yeah, me too, apparently.
Yeah, the link you sent in the email worked, but
and then I shut it down.
And then you shut it down.
Should have just left it running, but whatever. It's on now.
Yeah, cool.
Right on.
How you doing?
Not too bad at all. A little tired today. Yesterday turned into a big old day.
Did it?
Yeah. Had a big barbecue out at the uncle's place.
Oh, nice.
Nice big acreage.
Beautiful.
Yeah. What's howdy have to say there? All good, right on. Downtime, nice.
See you, howdy.
Geezer, how you doing, mate?
Hey, Geezer.
How have you been?
Good, man. Good.
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
Hanging out.
Good to hear.
Yeah. Tuesday's my birthday, so another year in the books.
Nice. I won't ask you how old you're turning.
Yeah, I'm getting old, man. I'm getting old.
Feeling old today, so I know how it goes.
Yeah.
So, I think I've missed quite a bit going on in the streams too.
Yeah.
Were you officially frocked by Archie?
I was.
Right on, then. Congratulations.
Thanks. As I keep telling everybody, I told Thomas a bunch of times that and 275 get me on the subway when I'm in the city. So
that's awesome. Yeah, growing bald spots. I know that. Lawn care, howdy. I don't know what to tell you, mate. Got to figure that out for myself, actually. So, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to make it on. NS, I think, is good to go today. Yeah, so that'll be excellent.
Cool.
Yep. And Thomas, I'd imagine, is queuing everything up as he does. So
absolutely.
Yep.
So, welcome everybody to another. We got another 40 seconds or so. So
Yeah.
we'll wait.
No.
We'll wait till 2 on the button, and then we'll do the official. Well, we got another minute or so. So
Yeah.
oh, wow, howdy! Your dad's birthday's the 15th too. Yeah, surprisingly, the 5th September 15th is the second most popular birthday. I think the 14th is actually the most popular day for a birthday. So,
what's 9 months ago?
well,
What holiday?
New Year's Eve. There you go.
Yeah, that's the one. The holidays in general, eh?
Yeah, well, especially for a baby boomer like myself.
Yeah,
So,
I got a punch. Yeah.
how's the new place coming along?
Yeah, pretty good. Still
Good.
sitting in this little room for now.
No worries, man.
Yeah. Still trying to decide if I do like I might try and set up a proper kind of studio
Like a
thing.
studio? Cool.
Yeah. I don't know how well it'll work. I don't know how the sound is from,
It sounds pretty good.
Not too bad.
Yeah. No, you're pretty good.
Got rid of the background noise, thankfully.
Yeah. That was with it was mainly just that the noise from the road that was right outside.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, no, there's no constant underlining noise, so it's good.
That's good.
Hey, 73 MAF, how are you?
How you doing, mate? Yeah, I'd imagine it is. Yeah. I'll figure out a way to do something about that.
Hey, Clan, how are you, man? Say hi to Lucian for us. Sorry, I'm typing and talking at the same time. That's never a good thing for me. Lucian, hello.
On this one, no, but ain't she a beauty? Oh, excellent.
Thomas.
How you doing, guys? You're right. Hi, NS. Hi, Blue Shirt. Hi, Zippo. Are you well?
We're good.
Good to see you guys.
We're good. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sunday with the Punters.
Yeah, great.
Hope everybody's doing well out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yes.
It has. It really
been
has.
6 weeks, hasn't it, NS?
Yeah,
welcome.
Welcome back, NS. Welcome back.
Yeah. Thank you.
Time
Glad to be back.
So all we're missing is Neo, and the full crew, being 6 of us, myself,
and whoever else wants to join in as well.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. The channel's namesake, that handsome devil behind the controls, flipping Zippo.
Yeah,
and as something, the Iron Man, Thomas Burnett, Neo from Minnesota, and myself, Blue Shirt, and the 6th man is you guys. You guys are a major part of this show.
That is correct.
No gurus, no egos, just
no
friends talking about watches. That's it.
That's the one. Just like to say hi to everyone: Matthew Gurlitz, Rajiv Maraj, Clan Walker, Geezer, Nick J, Howdy from Texas, of course, Ant G, Clan Walker, 73 Math, all the regulars. Good to see you guys. Great to see you.
Good to see you as well, Matthew.
Hey, Matthew.
Did you all see my thumbnail?
Yeah, we did. Was that the rhodium dial you've been looking at?
Yeah. Nice.
That's the one you're eyeing up.
Yeah. Got to try it on yesterday. Too small. Nice. Yeah.
Really? Too small?
Yeah. The one it had an extra link. There is an extra link available with it. But even then, it might not cut it. Not that I have a giant wrist or anything, but whoever is trying to get rid of that one. And I didn't count the links. I could ask for a count of what's on there now and find out what is factory. and see if I would need to order an extra one.
Well, if it doesn't fit, there have to be missing links, right? Unless you have a huge wrist.
Yeah.
The whatever the factory links are, I forget the amount, but it usually covers a pretty wide size of wrists.
You would think so. Yeah. So, I mean, from what I was told, it's the guy, he bought it brand new. So maybe he sold the links and kept one extra one.
A link pincher.
Yeah.
We know all about that.
We
Yeah,
know one of those. Yeah, we've heard of one of those.
I mean, you have to remember that not everybody is a crazy watch guy, right? You have some people that just discard the links. You have ADs that keep the links, right? That happens. So,
But I kind of
And welcome, ID guy, fresh off a 4-hour marathon from yesterday.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm still alive, but it was amazing. It was a really good time.
Welcome,
Hi,
my
guys.
friend.
Hi,
welcome.
everyone.
Sending your hangover.
Yeah, no, it's
Welcome.
good. I feel great today, actually. There's been such good sun in the UK. I don't know if you're getting it, Thomas, but
Yeah, it's been nice. It's been
oh, it's
lovely
been
there.
so
hasn't
good.
it?
I spent about 2 hours out there. I've got a whiskey in front of me, got some coffee. It's all you need, right? So just
Nice.
perfect Sunday.
beauty.
Great.
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Yeah,
well.
lovely.
We're well.
Good, good.
Superb.
I'm sorry I missed the stream. I was doing a
No.
barbecue.
Valid reason. That's me tomorrow. I'm like, we call it Braai Master. Coming out of South Africa, you're a Braai Master. You're the one who's manning the fire, you know, barbecue. That's going to be my job tomorrow. But it's amazing, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, man. Welcome.
I should be able to get them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, get this. The guy is selling that. I don't know what kind of collector he is. He wants to get a Grand Seiko and a Braemont out of that day
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like
Mm.
kind of
But,
found that.
but you never know what the guy has, though. Right?
Yeah,
It
exactly.
might be but yeah, it's
Very good point, NS. Yeah, he might already have several Rolex. So
You
Yeah.
can very well have the blue dial and be in love with that one.
it's definitely a weird move.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any justification? Did he give you any reason why he would choose those two brands in particular?
No. The guy who I was talking to, who I went and saw, he's doing consignment for it.
Okay.
So yeah, didn't have all the info.
Yeah, I guess it also depends what Grand Seiko is getting, right? He could
Yeah.
be getting a really nice snowflake and something, right? Which is
Absolutely.
yeah, they do
that's-
some lovely dials, don't they?
yeah. So just the Grand Seiko alone might be a real lateral move, and maybe the Braemont is just another watch. So
One
But-
of the standouts from yesterday's show was this GMT, and I think I'm trying. I'll find the name quickly. Hold on a second. It is beautiful. Let's see what it's called. It's the SBGM 221 with that cream dial. That
Right.
was something that really caught my attention. A lot of people actually. It was quite a standout watch of the show. The photograph was amazing.
Was that Snowflake?
No, it wasn't. How do I? Is there a way I could? I don't know. If I could send the link.
yeah, that's the it's that
Hard to describe it.
yeah.
What was
I
it
have
again?
it.
Can you
it's
call
the
out the
G-
reference? SBG?
SBGM, SBGM 221.
It's the GMT that has, and I looked it up. I don't
That's
know
it.
those.
That's it.
I don't know those by heart, but
No.
yeah,
What's the matter with you, NS?
Anyone who can know Grand Seiko references off by heart is a savant, gifted,
Amen.
really
The only thing worse than that is Omega reference numbers.
Oh, geez, down to the decimal.
If you know the Grand Seiko ones and the Omegas, no offense, but you're probably living on the spectrum. somewhere.
Yeah, I can fully agree there.
But that's a cool GMT because it has the it doesn't have like the Explorer style bezel like a lot of their GMTs have. It's a cool watch, a nice dial.
It is.
It's really casual. I love how casual it looks. It could just be an everyday. No one would ever know.
Yep.
Absolutely. I just want to give a quick shout out to Junior Johnson. Welcome, and an extra big thank you again for donating that watch.
Absolutely.
And Shot in the Dark received it, and hopefully he'll appear in the chat later on, or maybe even come on board.
Yeah,
give us a review of the watch.
Tell us what it's like. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
fantastic.
But a big, huge thank you again, Junior. You are the man.
Yeah, that
Absolutely.
was excellent.
What a gesture that was.
Yeah.
And we'd like to publicize if anybody else has any more watches they want to recycle through the channel, they want to pass on to other punters, more than welcome to get in touch with us and send them in, and we can recycle them to other worthy punters.
Right, from punter to punter.
Yeah, it's a feature we'd like to incorporate from punter to punter. If anybody has any old watches that they're bored of now, or getting the collection's getting a bit, they want to thin out the collection a bit, and they've got an old beta they want to get rid of. They want to pass it on to another punter. That'd be great little gesture.
Awesome.
Yeah, anybody else who wants to jump on, by all means. So.
You want to start off with your book review, Thomas?
Yeah, I'm just going to start us off with my watch of the day, and
Nice.
it's a new prototype I've got. In August of 2003, an agreement was reached between the Vinius Klotz Collis company and the, let me get this pronunciation right, Chistopol Watch Factory in Vostok, and the establishment of the joint Collis Vostok company. The goal of the new company was the creation of a new watch series that would have both modern design and quality. Thus, the watch brand Vostok Europe was created. And this is the Vostok Europe N1 rocket, which is a prototype I've received from Vostok Europe. And the N1 rocket in July of 2012, the N1 rocket tritium watches were tested in an expedition to the deepest cave in the world, the Krubera Veronia, the Lithuanian-Ukrainian expedition to more than 2 kilometers deep cave took almost 2 weeks. So this is a sports style 200 meter water resistant 47 millimeter and 17 millimeter thick.
That is a monster.
Yeah,
big
with
boy.
a screw down unidirectional bezel with a diver's scale on it. And
That dial is beautiful. I really like that dial.
it's lovely. It's really nice. It's got a 12-sided bezel to it, and it's got the Seiko NH, the workhorse movement,
35.
the NH 35A movement. Yeah. And it's a stainless steel case with a genuine leather strap, and it's been on offer for €595 they've been going for on a special offer.
Wow.
And it's lovely. I'll just do a quick wrist shot for this.
Nice. 73 Math says, I need more watches. Don't be all. This is a full-on addiction.
Yeah, it's a lovely one, this one.
That's a beast. That's really nice. I've got to say, that dial is really striking. All those raised minute marks. That's really cool.
It's a really nice one, this. I'm really enjoying wearing this.
I like how symmetrical it is.
Yeah.
When you angle it, you see like distortion from the
crystal.
The crystal, is it domed or?
Yeah, it is domed, slightly domed.
Nice.
Slightly domed crystal.
Very cool.
How heavy is it on the wrist? I have to know, because that 17 mil thick case must weigh quite a lot.
Yeah, it's substantial. It's not too heavy though because the leather strap. It's not got a metal bracelet on, so
Yeah.
it's just the head of the watch, and it's held in place quite well because the leather strap curves round very nicely around the wrist. It tapers round the wrist very well.
Yeah, that's almost as
it's-
much steel as a full bracelet, just in
Yeah,
that case
basically,
alone.
it makes up for a lot of space.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But it's a lovely watch. It's really nice. And I got so that's my watch of the week.
Beautiful.
And then on to the book of the week, which is 50 Watches That Changed the World.
Nice.
Ooh, I
Great
think
This
book.
is
this is from the Design Museum. Oh, okay, I
yeah,
know this one.
is the Design Museum book. That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct, ID guy. Yeah, it's so this is it's about £12 this book, I think,
Yeah.
and it's covers a lot of different, like ID guys just mentioned from the Design Museum, a lot of different watches. If I can hold this straight. So got Patek Philippe wristwatch for Countess Koskowicz, and everything from different watches that have
Influenced the zeitgeist.
Santos influenced,
Nice.
different Rolex oysters, the John Harwood self-first automatic watch, the different design watches like Braun watches, the Submariner, of course, Hamilton Ventura,
Nice.
the Speedmaster, the Akitron, the Jungens Max Bill, which we went over the other week.
Mm-hmm.
Hamilton 2001 Space Odyssey watch, the Hoya Monaco.
It's actually such a good book to use to promote this kind of area for people who are in that creative space, in the design space. If you're in architecture, it's a really good little archive of pieces that can get people into this hobby.
Hamilton Pulsar P1, the Nautilus.
They mention resale value at the bottom of that paragraph. Imagine. That'd be funny.
The G-Shock. I mean, G-Shocks and swatches and the Casio calculator watch and the Mondane Swiss Railways clock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all sorts of different. The Alessi watches, Louis Vuitton watches, Braun watches, and different smartwatches, even going up through to the Apple watches.
Interesting.
And how they've influenced.
This must be quite new. I don't think the ones that I saw were that up to date. I don't know how old this book is, but it looks pretty slick. I like the timeline too.
But yes, it's a really interesting book. I thought that one. It's as I say, it doesn't cost that much. It's about, I think this one is it's $20 or £12.99 UK pounds, or 26 Canadian dollars. This one.
It's weird that the cover would be that's a Black Bay, right, on the cover.
No, it's 55.
No, it's a
08.
Submariner.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe even earlier.
Wow. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it looks just the same, right? I mean, it's it's a laugh.
No, it's a nice book, and it ends with. Does it end with the Apple Watch?
Yeah, the Samsung Galaxy
the
and
Apple
also
Watch. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's would be interesting to see this book if they do keep updating it. Like, where is it going to be in 10 years?
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, obsolescence. Where's the Apple Watch going to be in that kind of realm next to these?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Where will it be? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is like a smart watch strap? That's what people need.
Actually, I think Sony had one of those, but it was like a really more of a really crappy bracelet, kind of like the I don't want to offend anybody, but the bracelet looked a little bit like the Timex Q bracelet, right,
Yeah.
with a weird clasp.
Mhm.
So they actually tried to do that, but it's a really weird strap / bracelet that you'd put on a nice watch, and then it doesn't come in all the different lug sizes and all of that. So it's a bit weird. I still hope that they come out with more of I'd really like Apple to come out with just a tiniest of bracelet that you wear next to your watch or on the opposite wrist. Yeah, I'm not cool enough to wear the Apple Watch on one wrist and
Takes
watch on the other.
a special breed of someone who can do that and pull it off well.
Well, I've heard a lot of people do it at home, right? Like the guy from TikToking says, at home he's always wearing the two of them. But for me, even at home, I feel a little bit. I'm not even cool enough to pull that off at home alone with nobody watching. So.
Yeah, Hans, how you doing, mate? Yeah, that's cool. If there's just a little module that slips under your case back.
That would be so cool, right?
Yeah,
That'd be very interesting.
Absolutely.
Micro technology instead of. It's funny. Speaking of wearing an Apple Watch at home, I was chatting to a interesting guy in Germany. I don't want to give away too much. I don't know if the situation is going to fall through or not. If we're going to get any. It's a business proposition for the channel. I'll go that far to say. So we had a chat on Friday, and he said to me the same thing. He's working from home, and he wears vintage a lot of the time, but he predominantly wears Apple Watches at home. And it's kind of you raise your eyebrow and say, "Really? Is that?" And he prefers that convenience.
It's called Schwarzkopfing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's if you wear it.
Yeah, I guess it depends what you do, right? So I work from home, so the Apple Watch is actually very convenient because it does a couple of things. Working from home, you tend to probably sit around too much. So there's the whole like motivation thing where it tells you should stand up, and you're tracking your fitness, and it unlocks your computer, and so it does do some interesting things. But yeah, it's it can also be annoying, and when you like watches, it's also competing against your nice watches for wrist time. So.
Does it keep you away from your phone?
I'm just going to switch from my phone to my computer now.
Sure, go ahead, Thomas.
I don't find that it keeps me away from my phone. I still, I have my phone on my desk, and I look at my phone. Looking at the small screen on your watch feels a bit silly anyway to me. But
I'd be interested in knowing. I mean, now that these watches are almost compatible by themselves without the need of the phone there all the time, do you feel that it's a good improvement, or do you feel it's a bit peculiar and not necessary? Because I've never experienced an Apple Watch. It's one thing that I just find is so, in this hobby especially, with what we love about these objects, I just think of it as a disposable. It doesn't line up with what we do when we get into watches in general. You know what I mean? It's a different category.
Yeah, it is, and I'll cop to it. I got an Apple Watch as a gift, right? My wife got it for me. I don't know if I would have gotten it. It's a cool fitness tracker. I'm not sure I would get one again. I do think that it is a very disposable thing, right? So I look at it, and it's yet another object I'm going to bring to the recycling center 4 years after I get it, which is stupid. But no, look, it's a tool. I don't really see it as a watch. It's a tool, right? So I'll be somewhere in the house, and I'll get a message, and maybe it's a work message. I'll see, okay, it's a work message. I better find my phone or go back to my computer.
An extension of your phone.
Of your phone, yeah.
Yep. Look, it's an extension of your entire computing telecom infrastructure that you build around yourself, right? That's pretty much what it is. It's not a watch replacement. It's not going to kill off the mechanical watch. It's it is what it is. It's a great tool.
Right, but is Howdy from Texas is saying there's no emotional attachment to an Apple
Yeah.
Watch.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's the same as a phone, right? If I know phones are expensive, so if you crack it, you might cry. But I mean, beyond that, there's no attachment. It's not something you're going to pass on to the next generation. It's not something you feel great about, wearing or anything like that.
It's disposable, but really back in the day, most of our watches were as well. People weren't really expecting to wear a Rolex for 50 years when they bought one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah, I guess in that sense it is, right? If you look at Rolex's beginnings as a tool watch, but I think people 50 years ago when they were buying a Patek or a Vacheron or whatever, they were kind of expecting not to dispose of it within like 2 years or 3 years.
Right.
So it depends, right? I think it's a question of where are you as a collector and why do you wear a watch and is it a tool? Because I could say the same about a Casio or like a Seiko 5, right? That somebody buys. It's not like you're expecting your G-Shock to be a family heirloom, right?
Yeah.
Bud
made a great comment. I think that needs to be highlighted. It's pretty funny. But yeah, it's true.
Why are you doing wind sprints at 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really funny.
But you realize when the Apple Watch first debuted, they interviewed a lot of people. They interviewed a lot of the CEOs of like the top Swiss watch brands at the time. And you know what their response was?
We don't care.
No, their response was, "Oh, thank God."
Because it's almost like a gateway drug into the community. Is that what they're insinuating?
Ding, ding, ding. That's I was like one of the naked wristed for a couple of decades before the Apple Watch came along.
Interesting.
Yeah,
very interesting.
That's one interesting point, right? Which is, it wasn't just getting younger people into watches. You have a lot of people, I think that are. Look, I think if you're over 40 years old, you grew up wearing a watch, right? Right until the
Correct.
Right, so probably right until your 30s, you were probably wearing a watch. Then the smartphone took over. You were always looking at your smartphone. So a lot of people stopped wearing a watch. And I think what the Apple Watch, but not just the Apple Watch, right? Even like the Fitbit and all those devices, what it did was get people to put something on their wrist again. Not necessarily wear a watch, but wear something on their wrist. And then, you walk by the jewelry store and you see an Omega and, you're on the internet and you see an ad for, you have to remember too, that with advertising online is such now that if you're looking to get a strap for your Apple Watch, Facebook is going to bombard you with watch ads, right? So in a way, it is a gateway drug, right? Because just you looking for a new rubber strap for your Apple Watch means that you're going to see like ads for Kickstarter projects for watches. You're probably going to see an ad for a, like an entry level, like a Bowman Mercier or something like that. And before you know it, you own like 6 watches, right?
I've got a great story to add to this, which is interesting because I'm the youngest in this panel. I think we can agree. I'm 26.
Yeah, and I'm the oldest, unfortunately.
Yeah. So my cousin came to visit me in London a couple of years ago, and he is not someone who wears. He's in the IT space. Does lots of programming, UX, UI design, and he's definitely not a watch wearing person. And it just so happened on that day, it was 2016. I think, around about then. First thing I did was take him to Oxford Street, Regent Street, to the big Apple flagship store. And I let him try on the watches. We got a good hands-on time with them. It's great because back then you could play around. You could take the straps off. You could do whatever you want. I think they've been a bit more restrictive with them nowadays because of theft and stuff. So had some time there and he was quite impressed. I must say I was too, from a design point. I'd never actually had some good hands-on time with him. Straight after that, I took him to Rolex at Harrods. And it was 2016, at a time when you could go in, and we basically bullshitted our way in and said, well, we've just had a business deal go through, and we're looking at some pieces, and it was the most amazing time ever. We got taken to this corner section of the room. They had a Panda Daytona, gold Submariners, the whole, anything you can pretty much think of in the sports category. And we were trying, it was amazing. Such a good experience. Anyway, the watch that he gravitated to was the Explorer 2, the 42 mil.
Nice.
White polar white dial. And then at the very end of the day, I said to him, so which would you choose looking at these two pieces? And he said, I'll take the Apple Watch. And trying to ask him why, I kind of got the impression that he just preferred the idea of it being this piece of technology. It did more, therefore it was better than. And then I sit there thinking with the watch I'm wearing, I'm thinking, oh, well, I tried. You know?
Yeah,
It's not for everyone.
Yeah, you have to remember again, right? A lot of people, even people that grew up wearing watches, never had any relationship with their watches, right?
Right.
That they never really felt anything for the watch. It was really a tool, right? But even beyond a tool, just a means to an end, right? Just a way to check your time. So
technology has evolved now.
Yeah, there's people that when they grew up, like as soon as the digital watches with like 1,000 functions on them, that they got that right away, and they thought, I'm not getting something with hands that go around a dial. That's stupid, right? Those analog watches. So I think you've always had a bit of that. Even before smartwatches, you had people that wanted the tool that has the most features, that does the most stuff, right? Even though you buy that and you end up never using the 26 alarms and the 3 levels of light that you have in it and all of that, right? And like even a GMT, right? That's when you think about it, if you really, really, truly, absolutely need a GMT, you need to have a conversation with yourself about the fact that you can't add to 12, right? You're adding or subtracting from 12. It's
Correct.
crazy.
Correct. Correct. And it's also hard to be, with all that's going on in our community, we are in the vast, and I mean vast minority of people out there who just really couldn't even care less if they have anything on their wrist, be it a mechanical watch or a smartwatch. So,
I am disappointed that these never got any traction. Trying to make these things around here, nobody wanted them.
You make custom straps.
Is that leather straps right for Apple Watches?
Yeah, for an Apple Watch. Fitted for it. I had to take hardware off it because I couldn't. Nobody wants this.
Oh, super.
Yeah.
That's
It's funny that you bring that up, because the one thing that's amazing about the Apple Watch is the strap system.
Yeah.
Right. And we're still buying gold watches that cost like $30,000-$40,000. They use a stupid spring bar. Right. And
that is ridiculous. Yeah. And Hardy from Texas just mentioned it. And Cartier, I then said Cartier pieces are amazing for that reason. The way they had that simple integration, you can literally take it apart with your thumbnail. It's amazing. Yep. It's so clever.
Yeah. A really cool system too is what Gégé Lecoultre put on the Master Compressor Extreme lines, where it works with any spring bar, because when you pull the tab, it just sort of brings back like the edges of the lugs, right? So it's like there's a cover on the lugs. And
yes. I think you
just take your spring bars with the springs and everything. You just lift the strap, put a new strap in, and that's it, right? And it gets even worse when you think about the fact that a lot of when you have a gold watch, usually you'll have a gold spring bar too, or else you'll break the make the
damage
hole too big. Yeah. So it's ridiculous. I've seen so many pictures of Patek's or any other brand, right? And it's
just mentioned by Giza. I was about to say the Overseas Generation 3, just what they brought out from Vacheron.
Yeah.
It's also a simple button you push and you can replace the straps on the fly. Rubber, leather, steel, no spring bars needed. It's Pretty
Yeah,
incredible.
and also
Great
an
system.
amazing thing that VC did was also give you three strap and bracelet choices with the watch that you buy and pay a ton of money. So I think that's cool too, right?
It's getting some bang out of the money you spent. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's. I really, really hope that that becomes a bigger thing, right, for all watchmakers, making it easy to remove straps.
It's just feels so archaic.
I'd like to take a quick second and say, something. I didn't get COVID. I didn't get COVID.
Good for you, I guess.
Oh, you made a supremely bitchy little puppet.
I made a joke because I know where you live and I know what the people around you day in day out think of COVID. So I figured I'd make it.
Oh, that was a good one.
I made Bill Sanders laugh. That's the important thing.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, maybe this is a good time to segue into the news.
I've actually got a major question about this, and it's something philosophical.
All right.
Oh dear. On a Sunday, Clive. On a Sunday. Are we sure about this?
Yeah. Well,
Go on then, Clive.
Now, of course, people don't really consider the Apple Watch a watch, right?
Right.
I'd say we do. We do. I wouldn't say the broader community, broader area of the world who buys them. Maybe they do, but we definitely feel it's a different realm altogether, for sure.
Well, what's the definition of watch? I mean, even a Fitbit, I think, can tell the time. Even if there's a gizmo that goes around your arm, and you might have to do like 9 button presses to get to the time. If it has a time menu, theoretically, and would the workable definition be whose primary function is to tell the time?
Yes, I like that. I do like that.
Yeah, I think it is. In a way, it is a watch, right? Let's not be like.
I mean, it's in the name. It has to. It's in the name of the thing.
Let's not be snobby.
It is a watch. But I think that's a great question because I think that's a question we should ask ourselves about a lot of things in the hobby, right? Like, it's the same as people that discount the spring drive. And they say it's not a mechanical watch just because it has a different escapement
setup,
right?
Right.
When it is it's just something different. It's not a true mechanical watch anymore, but it is a watch, and it is like, mostly mechanical. It's just different. So I think that's how we should see those watches, Fitbits, anything, right? It's just
wearable tech
different
that can tell the time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not done yet. I'm really going to piss in the well here, guys. Now, if we take that same definition and we apply that to Rolex, its primary use is to tell the time. Is a Rolex really a watch? Is the primary use really to tell the time?
Yeah, that's a damn.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, Rolex is a special case, I guess. And it's like I always like to say about Rolex, it's like a joke about that. There's a reason why Rolex doesn't use anti-reflective coating, right? Because a great majority of their consumer base needs to be able to look at their reflection when they look at their watches. So, I think you're. But it's a great point, right? I guess a great example of that would be like the super crazy jewelry line from Jaeger-LeCoultre or AP, right? Where you have to lift something to actually reveal the watch part, when really what you're getting is like a $500,000 diamond bracelet, right? So it becomes jewelry that also happens to be a watch. So, maybe that's what a Rolex is. It's like really cool jewelry that happens to be a watch. Yeah, it's statement watch.
Certainly with wearing a Daytona, telling the time is certainly not the easiest thing to do with. So
No, it's not the primary objective, is it? On
It's
with
not.
the Daytona, it's more of a statement piece, definitely.
yep.
Or even a two-tone Jake just with the champagne dial and gold hands.
Mm.
That's
Mhm.
beautiful, though. I mean, that's so elegant in the way it's done. I think it's fascinating. Interesting how you find this blend between jewelry and status and statements. It's pretty funny.
Well, going off the Rolex track, I've just queued up a couple of before we go on to the news, NS. I've just queued up a couple of watches that caught my eye.
Nice.
In the private chat, Zippo. If you want to just click on
Okay.
those.
I'm going to step away from the discussion for a couple minutes, but I assure you it's not to start it's not to do a quick live stream.
Thanks, Clive.
Okay.
That's good to know. That is good to
Or,
know.
or social commentary either.
No, this I save my editorial commentary for only one channel.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
I'm going to spit my coffee out in laughter just now. I can tell you it can happen.
But really, when you think about it, I can't think of a better way to express how I think about the channel.
Oh, jeez.
So you able to fire that up, Zippo? There you go.
You got him.
Yeah, so the first one is a viewer of the channel. It's DeWiss, Design Watch Independent Switzerland. It's a company, and I've seen this man comment in the channel. This company, I've seen them comment in the comments before. So it's a view of the channel. And
Nice.
if you just want to scroll down, Zippo, there's
Whoa.
a bit further. There's some watches there. If you just want to click on that one on the right, this is
AP
the-
bracelet.
This is the R1. Yeah, the bracelet is like a Royal Oak-esque
Oh.
3-part bracelet. It's
Yep.
this is a Wandering Hours. It's the R1 automatic. It's a Wandering Hours time display. So the top half of the dial around the rehaut, you can see displays the minutes, and then these two flight Wandering Hours displays, and it's now telling the time at 10 past 10.
Interesting.
So it's actually displaying the hours are at 10 and the minutes is pointing at the minutes. These were delivered in August of this year. They've actually sold out at the moment, apparently. And they're
Nice.
45 millimeters, 13 millimeters thick with a 2 millimeter glass. They're a user modified ETA 2824-2
That
with an
is cool.
elaborate grade.
Very interesting.
They've got Incablock shockproof protection and a see-through exhibition case back. And if the man from DeWiss would love to come on the stream, we'd love to hear from him. We'd love to hear more about these watches. It's
Sure.
really fascinating.
Sure. Just want to quick shout out to Neo. What's up, pal?
Yeah, great to see you, Neo. Hop on, my friend. Yeah, but
Can we take more than 6? Because I can jump off if I'm in the way.
We can take more than 6, definitely.
Okay, good. Cool.
I was just fascinated by these watches, these Wandering Hours.
There's a few brands that do this, but it's nice to see a smaller, lesser known brand also make this kind of impact. It's great.
Very different.
Yeah, just seeing as we'd seen him in the comments, I thought we'd feature his watches.
Awesome.
Shout out to DeWiss.
Good catch, Thomas.
Nope.
Yeah,
Neo,
that's
how you
really
doing, man?
interesting. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Neo, what's up, buddy?
Hi, there,
All
Neo.
Hey, Neo.
Welcome.
Yeah, this watch is really interesting.
What other brands? I think when I think Urwerk, I think they do something similar, don't they? There's a few brands that do this idea of the exposed a minute track that then follows with the hour.
Yeah, there's quite a few brands.
Doesn't MB&F do something slightly similar to this?
Yeah, MBNF. There's Gorilla, obviously. Urwerk. But you're going to see a lot of those because you know that Chinese company that made that tourbillon for
Yes.
ERA. They have they have a kind of wandering hours / jumping hours, but it's basically this with a cover over it. They have a movement like that now, so you're going to see it a lot with a lot of Kickstarter brands. It's not this. It's not what you see here. It's just one wheel wandering over, and ERA is like a. It's really tacky. It's shaped like a rocket. It's really not that attractive. But you're going to start seeing more. But this looks more like more traditional wandering hours where you have multiple discs that are getting sort of set up, right? One after another, which is the more traditional one. AP was one of the first that did this.
Really?
Yeah, they have a very old model that had that.
Yeah, Geezer's pointing that out in the chat. The AP Star Wheel.
Right.
Nice.
Interesting. Yeah, so this is the first one that caught my eye, which I thought I'd feature. The next was the Bravo Geography in Midnight Blue, which is a Swedish company. Sorry, this is a 39 millimeters by 10.5 thick. It's 50 meters water resistance.
So I can actually wear this watch.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's
very nice.
44.5 lug to lug. It's 42 hours power reserve. Uses an ETA 2893-2 automatic or a Celita SW 330-1. It's a rhodium plated, decorated bridges custom rotor. Uses a GMT movement with dual time zones. Midnight blue colored curved dial with applied hour indexes and numerals. Dome sapphire crystal and internal anti-reflective coating, a variety of vegetable tan leather straps, Swedish high-grade steel case. The watch is hand-built in Sweden on a built-to-order basis. Due to high demand, estimated shipping is currently mid-December. And all watches are hand-built in... you're going to hate me when I say this word.
Give it a go. Go for it. Balls to the wall.
It's spelt Bastad, so I can only presume it's pronounced bastard.
Bastard, yeah, that's right.
Bastard. A small coastal town on the Swedish west coast, situated at the foot of the Swedish Alps. And here the watchmaker assembles, inspects and tests the timepieces, engraving the signature inside every watch built as a quality mark and show pride of craftsmanship. I thought these were quite nice. These reminded me of Blue Shirt because I know he loves blue dials.
It's nice to see numerals. It's nice to see numerals that actually follow the roundness of the case. Wish more brands would experiment with that a bit, you know? Yeah, decent. Very nice. And all that engraving in the back, that looks like world city locations.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Okay, what kind of movement and what's the price point?
It's either Celita SW 330-1 or an ETA 2893-2. And the price is $1,450.
How thick is it? The watch.
It's 10.5 millimeter thick.
10.5. That's pretty good, eh? That's actually very nicely scaled and sized. 39 mils. Pretty decent.
Yeah, nice size, and the lugs don't look super long either, so
no,
should wear well.
Yeah.
Quite a nice sort of smart GMT, sort of formal GMT watch.
Orange Hand, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Orange Hand.
Orange Hand, you well?
Hello, Orange Hand.
And the so that's the Bravo Geography in Midnight Blue.
It's a big thing now, right? All the the vegan straps. It seems like every independent watchmaker is doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the next one was the Brew Watch Company. And the Brew brand has drawn a lot of design inspiration from industrial espresso machines. So this one's for you,
Oh.
Clive.
That's
Which feature a special blend of warm, contrasting colours and a variety of brushing effects, similar to an espresso machine. The watches express their own industrial nature with unique vented aesthetics seen on the sides, case back, and crown. Jonathan Ferrer, the founder and designer, is a huge coffee fan and says that coffee break is less about consumption and more about the savoring a moment in time, just like with these watches. So this is the Brew Mastergraph.
Now, does it have a vibratory pump or a rotary pump? Also, does it use a reservoir or is there a direct plumb? I've really been studying up on this shit.
So this
It's
is
a really nice piece. I
it's
love
lovely.
inspirations. Those hands just sell it, right? The hands and the
lovely, isn't
subdials.
it? I really like it. Yeah, it's 38 millimeters. It's 10.5 thick. It's 50 meters water resistance, and this one's $375. It's a 41.5 lug to lug. It's a 22 millimeter leather quick release strap. It uses a VK68 hybrid mecha quartz chronograph, and it's got domed sapphire crystal. And the retrograph is also available on a beads of ride bracelet, which is a slightly different model. But I really like this model.
No, actually, I'd like to point out, I've discovered there actually is a valid need for a chronograph when doing espresso shots because you're supposed to time them very carefully.
Well, funny you should say that, Clive, because the timing, it's got an indicator at 35 seconds. If you just see the 30 to 35 seconds, that's for timing the perfect espresso.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's not very inspired by coffee making. This watch. Sorry.
Yeah, and when you're making coffee, another great use of a chronograph. This is a good tip for you, Clyde. If you have your grinder, right, at some point you'll if you don't want to always weigh your coffee, like let's say 18 grams, let's say that's where you're using for your shot, time a few times how long it takes you to grind out, how long it takes your grinder to grind the exact amount of coffee that you need and average it out. So you might find, okay, it takes me 17 seconds to grind the exact amount of coffee that I want, and then you just use that instead of weighing your coffee every morning. So
yeah, they say that in the early 1930s, a specific category of chronograph watches were nicknamed telephone timers, and they were designed with special markings that highlighted a range between every 3 minutes on the subdial register. After each 3-minute marker was reached, it would remind the wearer that they would need to insert another coin into the meter to continue their call. Similar to this method of counting seconds and minutes with a direct correlation to the wearer's action, the Mastergraph has specific markers on the bezel that specify when the optimal espresso shot has been extracted. The time for this ranges from 25 to 35 seconds, depending on the barista and the machine. With the rotating bezel, you can specify where you would like your timing to be in a precise manner.
Well, and it also depends, of course, upon the espresso machine, what it requests, and even humidity can really play a differentiating factor.
Yep, humidity. Also, you always have to, little tip, you always have to remember that your espresso machine will get decalibrated a little bit. They do sell some meters that you can install aftermarket. But yeah, it's good also for temperature surfing. I don't know if you're doing that, Clyde, or not. But you want to clear out the cold water that's in your group head. Should get rid of water, and then after a while, you figure out how long you wait before the water comes back down to a reasonable temperature. Right. Sometimes it's 30 seconds, 33, 34, 35. So it's good for that too. There's actually a whole, there used to be tons of very specialty chronographs and alarm watches. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the Watchfinder video about the Memovox. Jaeger-LeCoultre used to make a Memovox with special 15-minute increments for parking. So there's a little P, and you have like little marks on the subdial for the alarm, and it was basically designed for mostly New Yorkers that had to pay their parking meter. So very interesting.
I would just caution people whenever you're buying these sort of cheaper quartz chronographs. I mean, be prepared that often the chronograph second is not going to align correctly.
Very, very well said. Yes, I've experienced that. Those VK64s, they can be very inconsistent with that chronograph hand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even stuff like the Belova Moonwatch, which is supposed to be a great chronograph. I mean, that thing doesn't align correctly. I mean, it's just very annoying. If that's going to bug you, just stay away from these.
Got to say, the aesthetic is quite charming, though. I think that face is very unique. I've seen it a couple of times before. It's nice when a style of a watch can actually stick in your head, even if it is a micro brand. Must mean that they're doing something right.
Exactly.
You know,
So
this
shall we-
reminds me.
Go ahead.
This will go into the news, but this reminds me of another specialty timer that came out this week. I'll put in the private chat. I think Neo pointed that out this week. It's the egg timer.
Yes,
watch.
the egg timer watch. Yep.
Yeah, that one was.
That watch just makes me smile. I mean, how hilarious is that watch?
But, you know, there's a story behind it, right? It's it's from like some sort of organization that wants I forget if it's like mustard or something.
Mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise. They don't want that art to die.
Correct.
So there's a whole foundation around it, and they made this watch, which is an egg timer watch.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Also
When I think it's very interesting.
There you go.
Now, I like this one, but its successor, the Eggmaster 2, I hate.
So what was, I mean, this, I didn't even know this brand. What is the maker? Is it specifically dedicated to this idea of an egg master watch? Oh, the MAT. So I'm guessing that's the company.
Yeah, MAT is the brand. They make like more reasonable watches. I'd say that one was made specifically for that foundation.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, really interesting.
So I just figured before we slide into the news of things that happened, and as something and I were talking about this earlier in the week, maybe we should start the news off this week with something that actually did not happen. And that
Aren't you going to
well, that's never going to happen.
All right.
But this is the proposed sale of Tiffany's to LVMH is not happening.
Yeah, I put up a link there. That has been surprising to me because it's like huge news, right? But it hasn't really been covered much in the watch world. So LVMH is basically backing out, at least for now. You know, they always leave the door open, but it's probably very permanent at this point. They're backing out of buying Tiffany's. Couple of things to note: the stock market reacted very favorably for LVMH,
Correct.
not so favorably for Tiffany's. So I think the market thinks that this is a solid decision from LVMH, and I think it's pretty crazy because the takeover was announced not long before this whole COVID thing, right? And it's basically been killed because I guess at this point nobody wants to be saddled with a bunch of brick and mortar shops that nobody goes into or can get
Yeah, it
into.
makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. So
That's quite sad, eh? That's quite a nail in the coffin.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it is a sad fact that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep.
being a New Yorker, I mean, there's nothing
Yeah,
as
that's
iconic,
Yeah.
jewelry wise as Tiffany's. I mean, you think New York and jewelry, you think Tiffany's.
Yeah.
Well, look, I don't think it's I don't think it's a death sentence for Tiffany's, but it is revealing that they're probably not doing as well as people would think, and they're not necessarily a great outlet for a company like LVMH. When you would think that they're the symbiosis there would be amazing, right?
Right.
LVMH and Tiffany. So it's interesting. I think LVMH does have Bulgari, right? So
Mhm.
I think there's a lot they can do with that, and so that's probably their answer to Cartier. So they already have that. But yeah, I think it's big news that a lot of people have been overlooking this week.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean,
The state of the world must have really impacted this. This was probably the real final call.
Yeah.
They must have thought, well, very good point about going into stores and everything else that's happening. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Cartier. It's like Rolex for white chicks.
So I think the next
yeah,
link
very
that I
interesting about the bricks and mortar aspect.
Yeah. So the next link that I posted is I think that's the watch release of the week. Right? I think it's people aren't talking about it because a lot of people are still talking about Rolex. But I think the new Honey Gold homage
Wow.
Yep.
series is pretty awesome.
Beautiful.
I was a very lucky guy this week, got to say. I collector. I don't know if anyone has known, if I told anyone, but I had it on the end of the live show.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I saw that. That's actually the only part of the show that I caught.
You caught. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
So he got invited. He's put his name down on the list for the center. I think it's the 1815 Rattrapant. Is that what they're calling it?
Yep.
He put his name down for that, and they let him into the Mayfair boutique. He had the whole place to himself basically, and he could just sit with all of them, all the prototypes prior to production. They're all number 0 of whatever the place the serial number is, and fascinating hearing his thoughts about these pieces altogether. The turbograph. I mean, I'm sure you want to tell everyone in something, but it's really quite masterful, as always is the case.
I think it's really cool because look, I think it's a great release, right? It's 3 very solid model. What I really liked is that there's something for, well, I don't want to imply that they're all cheap watches, right? But there's kind of something for everyone. It's not like they just came out with one super watch that's going to cost $500,000, right?
Yeah, very, very well said.
Yep. They have 3 models. I think from the entry level, which is just beautiful.
I love that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
And he said it's so thin. It's basically an ultra thin in that line.
Yeah, it's thin, and the Lange Honey Gold is just
something else.
That's stunning. I didn't realize you were going to cover this, but I should have figured that you were. But that's one that this is the one that I listed too. What a stunning watch, and the fact that it's honey gold, that it just sets itself off
X factor
from everything else. It's just stunning.
And historically, the honey gold is always more collectible, right? It's always the first of in their line, isn't it? Isn't that the element?
Always has been. And what's really cool is you start out with the entry level, then you go to the Rattrapant, which I think does 2 things at least for me. It's amazing, right? It's a Lange chronograph. It looks amazing. The dial's amazing. The hands are cool. The movement's amazing, but it's not just another datograph, right? I have nothing against the datograph. I think the datograph is amazing. I love it, but this is different.
Correct.
Right? I think it's cool for a company to not rehash the same thing over and over again.
You know what else? What's even better is it's even more understated than a datograph. Sorry, I think I'm interrupting Neo there. Sorry, Neo.
Oh, well, I was gonna say. I mean, my big issue with it is if you just glance at it, it looks like a Patek.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from because of the numerals, but I think this is a watch aimed at the Lange buyer,
Yeah,
right?
the collector. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
Lange connector, the first thing the first thing they'll see is the hands, right? And it's all classic Lange, the
case.
font at the top, the case, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you're right, Neil. But I think that's partly because it's not like an in-your-face datograph, right? It's a super classic looking chronograph with the scale. You're right. It is very classic Patek-esque. Yeah, look, it's a very. I know it's crazy to say that that's an understated watch, but
it
I
looks
feel like
so casual. You're right.
yeah, I
Very
feel
much.
like it is. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the photo next to the 5370 that he took into the boutique, but the Patek was so flashy next to this watch. It's actually a completely different spectrum almost.
Yeah, which is weird because it's kind of an understated watch, that Patek, to begin with. But yeah, look, but I get where you're coming from, Neo. It is. I think that's because it's a classic looking watch, right? It's like if you make a classic three-hander, it might very well look like a Calatrava, right? That sort of thing.
Look at that movement.
And then the turbograph. Anyone like to grace us with that story? Because that is nuts.
I mean, the turbograph is basically everything, right? To me, that's them coming out with a it's like a super watch, right? It's like the supercar of watches. It's got everything. Constant force, fusée and chain, perpetual. It's everything, right? And I think I think that's the kind of watch that you like seeing a manufacturer come out and come out with a super watch once in a while.
Yeah, and Guy's saying he saw them this week too as well. So he said they're quite something. There's an additional engraving on the movement besides the traditional engraved balance cock, and the grain finish is also a nice touch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very nice that you got to see them. That's definitely watches that especially that one, right?
Yeah.
The turbograph, a lot of us aren't
gorgeous.
The
gonna see
turbograph
it
is
in the
ridiculous.
metal.
It's very, very good point. It's almost like it's like an automotive manufacturer deciding, okay, everything on this car is going to be handmade. The body, it's not going to be for sale, but it's there for the purposes of showing everyone what we can do. And it's the middle finger to all the Swiss manufacturers in their sites. I think it's a pretty good status.
Look, I think if you're a serious watchmaker at that level, I think it's the same as the Jaeger-LeCoultre Westminster. It's like it's like the Vacheron Twin Beat. I think at some point, I know people will say, "Wow, just like another watch, nobody's going to be able to afford." I think if you're at that level, you need to make a because you can watch,
and because no one else can. And because no one else can, let's give it to them.
Yeah, because you're if you're one of those companies and you put on your website a bunch of BS about you have like a 200-year-old history and you're this amazing company and stuff, and then you come out with watches with the same automatic movement that all your watches have, and it's the same three-hander and stuff. At some point, it's like, okay, you've rested on your laurels for the last 75 years. Come out with something cool, and I think this is the way it needs to be done.
Yeah. And this is 100 pieces, I believe. And I think
500K a pop. Ouch.
500K.
500K.
Wow.
Yeah, I think those are look, you've seen the same thing with the Giro Tourbillon anniversary editions, things like that. That number that they're going to build is if they actually sell that many, right? It'll probably end up being less than that, but
it was nice hearing Russell's approach to buying these kinds of pieces as being a wearer first, they have to fit him. They have to actually be watches that he would wear every day or whenever he wanted to. And he said not only the turbograph, but also the new minute repeater, the Zeitwerk minute repeater. They're just way too big and thick to be worn on a daily basis.
That is just something else, though. The minute repeater is
gorgeous.
Stunning.
Jingly jangly.
Stunning.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And look, and those are watches that are so cool that you would want to be able to wear.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
I get if you're getting a, like a 50-year-old Patek calendar or something that's fragile and you want to keep it in an exhibition case and something and enjoy it that way. But a watch like this that's so cool and it's massive and it looks solid, you want to be able to wear it.
Yeah.
This I just popped on the site. This 1815 Ratrapant Honeygold is 130,000 euros. So that's 153,000 US dollars.
Well, if you compare that to how much was that new Patek Platinum Ratrapant that came out like a couple months ago? It was like
Probably the same price, I imagine.
I think it was like 230 something. Look, some of these watches are getting they're getting up there in prices.
Yeah.
But that makes you think because you are look, I don't want to take anything away from those watches. They're amazing. But you are getting in, Grubel Force territory at that point. So you have to ask yourself, what do you really want?
I mean, it's just nuts. There was a great comment mentioned by Matthew saying 500K. I think you can get a Hulk around that much. It's pretty much on the nose there.
Welcome back, Junior Johnson.
Yeah, welcome, Junior.
Yep. The next link, I don't know if we want to move on to the next link before we all try to see how much we can sell our houses for to get one of these.
Yeah, sure.
We should go to something else. The next link that I had put up is actually the next two links are like a one piece only type of thing. The pièce unique. The first one is the Resonance.
Resonance, I love this watch.
The comments are getting good now. James Con says craftsmanship of Turbographers, Sky Dweller on Oysterflex. That's great. Love it.
So this one is a pièce unique in red, and I just thought it looked so cool.
I love it. It looks great, doesn't it? I love the Resonance watches anyway. I mean, I love the complication they have where the whole dial rotates and points to the minute track, and you have
these are the ones.
You have the hours on the small dial. Yeah,
the ones filled with oil, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
The one element that I don't like about its design, the only element, there's one thing, and it's that hand at the 12 o'clock position. I don't understand it. I don't understand the significance of it there. It feels strange.
Well, that's static, and the whole dial rotates, doesn't it? I mean, and then you've got the that's the minute out, the minute.
No, I'm so sorry. I mean to say that where the 12 should be on that little sub dial, where there's actually a hand, I can open a palm there instead of the number 12.
Okay.
Got you.
I don't get why that needs to be there at all. I find it peculiar.
Look, I think that is a good point, but at some point, I think there's so much stuff that's completely out there on those watches that, that hand does make it look like a. I shouldn't say this because I really, really love those watches. But the first time I saw that hand, I thought it looked kind of like, warning light you get in a car.
Yeah.
Like the check engine.
Check engine.
Or like your flasher light is like burnt or something. I shouldn't say that because I think it's really cool. But yeah, it is a little bit weird. But you have to say one thing about Resonance is that they did something, right? Something that's cool, something that's out there, something that's innovative.
The idea of a full rotating dial and the power reserve and everything in one place. It's pretty amazing. Seeing it in action. Gotta recommend everyone, if you look at Watchbox, Tim Mosso does like doing hands-ons with these. and seeing him actually rotating the dial, and it's pretty incredible.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he's a big
also
fan of these.
off-axis viewing is also incredible, right? It's right. It's no matter what angle you look at it, you'll be able to see it because of the oil inside the
And
case.
the fact they use an ETA based caliber,
Mhm.
that's just amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what's really amazing about the oil filled ones, right? Because obviously you can't oil fill the movement because then the balance is going to have too much restriction. So it really is. We often talk about modules, right? Like a modular chronograph or something, but this really is a completely sealed, separate module sitting on top of the movement with a magnetic coupling in between the two. So there's no real connection beyond that coupling between the movement at the top, which is the entire interface between you and the watch, and the actual movement that sits in a completely sealed case below it. So that's really cool. That really, it's like you have two separate mechanical devices sitting on top of each other, coupled with a magnetic coupling.
One other detail that I'd like to add, I don't know if this was mentioned, but that crystal, that's a sapphire crystal that's covering that full dial. That must have been one hell of a lot of work to get that kind of result.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
To
what
get
the
it
process
done.
must be like. Yeah.
To get it domed like that, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's when you start realizing why those watches cost that money, right? Even with an ETA base, there's a lot of stuff.
It's all bespoke, basically.
Yep.
Very interesting.
But yeah, Geezer, you're right.
Saying it'd
There
be
is a
popular
lot
in
of red.
China, that one.
Yes, that is a lot of red.
Yeah.
I think that the next one I had queued up is also a pièce unique, but completely different. And it's weird because there were a lot of chronographs released this week. And this is one of them, the Len. I'm pronouncing it as if it was a French word, but I'm probably not pronouncing it well. So the Len 13ZN, I guess, reimagination. And this might interest you, Clyde. This is an old Longines chronograph movement that was refinished and put into a new case. They're only making one of these. So they refinished the movement, and they basically created a modern reinterpretation of the Longines 13ZN.
And this watch, it's just beautiful. It is, it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
Sector dials.
The sector dial, I think the hands, right? The different shape hands, that like really vintage cutout sector with the subdials. And if you scroll down, Zippo, and you look at the actual movement, they really refinished it well.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yep.
That is awesome.
And it's so open. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Len, if you guys don't know who they are, they're an independent. I'd say like one of those mid-tier independents. I'd say like in the price range is similar to Dornbluth, or maybe a little bit more expensive.
Wow.
And they make some really cool dials, and relatively nice, nicely finished movements. But this one is just really cool for someone who wants an old style chronograph.
That is really nice.
Wow. I really love the openness. No bridges or anything that's in the way. It's, you get to see everything on display, and that huge balance. Good grief. That is stunning. So why is it that they engrave at Longines? Is this a recreation of the caliber that was used in the original?
No,
Is that the idea?
Actually, that's a vintage Longines movement.
Okay. Amazing. I must say, there's some brand. I mean, when I think of that CHRO that Omega made a couple of years back, CHRO 18, I think. The Lawrence of Arabia. They only made like 10 of them or something, and recreated the entire caliber to go into this piece in the similar kind of fashion. Pilot chronograph. They're very popular, eh?
Mm. It's similar to the Mont Blanc. Oh my God, I forget the name of those movements.
Like an 1858 or
No, the Minerva movements, right? Because the Minerva brand was kind of gifted to Mont Blanc from Richemont, so they make those new chronographs that are incredibly expensive with these old. Well, they're built, right? They're newly built, but
new old stock, basically.
yeah, but old Minerva style chronographs just look beautiful. So.
And I think I did mention this week that it reminds me of the JLC sector that you own and something.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're very similar. And look, I'm a sucker for sector dials. So, and
it's a shame it's a piece unique.
That should be mainstream.
Yeah,
I
agree.
It is, and the article goes in and they say that they did that, but then they decided to focus on something else. It's
right.
You don't even have like a good excuse why it's a piece unique, which is really too bad. The next link that I queued up is very different. I'm sure it's going to be very divisive. Didn't even know if I should feature it, but I figured we can look at it. So it's Frédéric Constant is getting into the steel sports watch market, which is, it's to be expected because unfortunately I think that brand has looked more and more like a homage brand over the last couple of years, right? They make a chronograph that looks a little bit too much like a Patek chronograph. They make a three-hander with calendar that looks a little bit too much like a Mont Blanc watch. So this is their foray into steel sports watches.
It has to be a blue dial, of course, as we can expect.
Of course, and it has to.
It looks great. It does look very nice, though, I must say.
Look, it looked good. It looks good, and their big claim to fame for the Constant is like having the cheapest perpetual calendar. So it is a perpetual calendar. It does have like the sort of trailer park version of the.
That's great. Love that. That looks very decent. Not bad. I get overseas Vacheron overseas vibes, especially when looking at the perpetual and the and the code 1159 in a way. That dial layout kind of rings true.
I was going to say Vacheron. If you just look at like their bracelet and strap and the way it attaches to the watch,
similar.
Yeah, I appreciate that they at least tried to do something with the case, right? That's all.
Really like it. It's almost like a bow tie. It's the way it tapers in like that it's actually quite attractive.
It's like a weird 70s type of case almost.
Cat's ears almost.
Yeah, it's not bad. And what's the pricing on this? I don't remember. I think it's like $9,000 for the perpetual.
For the perpetual.
Yep.
I believe the Citizen owns them.
Yes, I believe so. So so they have like money behind them.
Right.
Look, it's not a bad watch. I think
it's going to be popular. I'm pretty sure people are going to pick these up.
Yep. And look, I have to say, at least they're offering something, and you can see there like the bracelet changing system, which is
nice.
Like a bit weird, but
at least so it's actually see, it's got a little hobnail, so it's like integrated leather straps. How they integrate that's funny.
Except that it has one on both sides, right? So it's easier to open. But it's like how can we make a bracelet system and make it the cheapest way possible, basically?
That's funny.
But look, I think at least one of the things that they are doing is bringing something. It might just be just another steel sport watch, but they are bringing something, right? They are bringing a moon phase perpetual calendar
into this genre. Yeah. I must say that part of the case, that bow tie style to it was really, it does catch my attention. There's something quite unique about it. I haven't seen other 70s inspired cases have that same kind of effect. Weird.
I have a quick question about it. Why is the date on the three-hander set so far inside the dial?
That's probably because the movement's tiny.
Yeah, I would expect so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Movement.
Well, cost cutting.
Yeah. That's
Well,
it.
look, it is an $9,000 and this is MSRP, right? This is Frédéric Constant, so you have to expect you're going to go into the store and you have like at least 35% off of MSRP. So it's not like you're getting a lot of finishing and movement, or these are the people that are selling you a $2,000 perpetual calendar usually. So
Yeah, and and if you look, I bet if you look at this with the loom shot, the dial will be fairly symmetric, right? Because of where the date is.
Yes,
You'll get
correct.
on that 3 o'clock spot instead of an empty spot, which is what we normally get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean if this watch didn't say Frédéric Constant, probably more people would look at it, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
maybe. Except they do have a bit too much of. I wish they would branch more out into and do their own thing, right? Like, can you scroll up a little bit? Like, if you look at the first off, like the open heart thing is very kitschy, but if you look at the one that's gold plated with the leather strap, right? It looks like a Paddock knockoff, right? The way the strap attaches.
What
with
it
the
reminds
link.
me of. It reminds me of the new Omega the Constellations that came out. Those Manhattan recreations. That looks almost exactly the same.
That's true. The case shape. Yeah.
And the way that the strap integrates there, it feels just the same. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So look, I thought it was like a interesting thing coming from what most people would think is like a shopping mall watch.
Well, it's nice. It's nice to include it. I mean, we love the variety. Everything from Lunga to Frédéric Constant in one place. It's great.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like going downhill today in the news. Which doesn't mean anything about the next one that I queued up, because that's a Richard Mille. I'm not trying to say anything.
Oh no, this should be good.
Yeah, look. The next one is the new Richard Mille chronograph, which is interesting because they're calling it an in-house chronograph. So it says as much as it can be in-house, right?
I was going to say, what does that really, when it comes to Richard Mille, what does that really mean?
Yeah, that probably means it was designed for them and made for them
by somebody else.
Yeah, I think Richard Mille doesn't hide the fact that they just use the best of breed suppliers for everything in their watches. It's not like they've ever hidden the fact that their circular watches have like Vaucher movements in them, right, or things like that. So I think this is probably their first chronograph that was really tailored for them and is an integrated chronograph, not modular or anything like that.
Yeah, Skeezer says it's cased in-house.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Those numerals on that dial.
Awesome watch, though. Like, this is such a cool, modern-looking watch. I love this one.
How many people's houses does this one cost?
At least
well,
two.
I mean, it depends where you live, right? If your choice is between a standard trailer and a double wide, then many houses. If you live in a house with indoor plumbing, then maybe it's like a house. Something. Well, no, it's.
I'm not going to let you get my goat, man. I'm just saying.
I didn't mention you by name, but
I must say, I'd really like the asymmetry of those subdials. It does add something quite, and you can actually read it pretty easily, having a look at them. It's
Right,
just those numerals on the dial I don't get. They shouldn't be there. I think it'd be so
Yeah.
much cleaner with maybe a little more emphasis on batons or something. I don't know. But looking at those subdials, it's actually very legible for a change. Using those
Yeah.
colors that are simple to identify at a glance.
Because Richard Mill is not the king of legibility. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Too much skeletonization goes on with Richard Mills, doesn't it?
well, I think they're a statement piece, right? It's
True. That's very true.
really expensive watch, and often you see people that are wearing these watches. They're wearing these watches during a time where they absolutely do not need a watch and would never, like playing football, playing golf, playing tennis. Recently, with I think it's Julien Alaphilippe, right? Was wearing during the Tour de France. He was wearing
Formula One. I know the Formula One, some of the drivers, but the worst is the sprinters, the actual athletes. We had Wade van Niekerk, South African sprinter. I think he's a 400-meter, and then some of the 100-meter sprinters too. I mean, running with a watch, doing that, it's pretty good. Pretty good for your movement testing.
Yeah, but the the edge that they lose, right? So it probably makes them slower. They probably drown their sorrows in the checks they're getting from the
exactly
watchmaker.
Underachieving watch collector says RM looks like a G-Shock for rich people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it in a sense it is, right? It's
looking at it design-wise, I love the whole prototype concept, just experimental materials. That always fascinates me. The way they've got this tonneau shape case, which is like, from the 20s, and they've been able to modernize it and approach it in a certain way. It's pretty nice.
I think it's a lot like the AP concepts, right? And it's ironic because AP, that division that makes the concepts, does make movements for these guys. But it's like the AP concept. It's very different. It's very out there. But everybody that says, they look like weird, they look crappy. All I would say is people are constantly complaining about watchmakers putting in no effort, doing nothing new, right?
Yep.
Rehashing the same thing, the same movements. Here you have a company doing exactly what you've been asking for years and years and years. Don't dismiss it right away. It's the same thing as the Rolex Sky Dweller, right? Everybody's been saying, please Rolex, make something complex, like make something different, and then Rolex goes ahead and does it, and everybody's like,
that's true.
I wanted a different color Submariner. That's what I wanted.
Well, it's time for tacos. Nice chatting with you all. Okay.
All right. Take care.
Take care, life. Have a nice time.
Cheers, Ron. Jeff.
Thanks, bud.
And on that note, the last link that I queued up, it's not a watch. Grand Seiko announced a movement, not a watch, which is interesting. They announced a constant force tourbillon movement. And the watch that you're going to get used in is to be determined. So, interesting.
That looks like something, that.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what this is eventually going to turn into. But what an amazing looking movement.
So it's a twin-barreled movement, that I take it.
Full on cage tourbillon as well. That's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. I have a question to actually pose in something, because you know your movements, you know your watchmaking. I have this feeling that if we look back in history, where we saw the real start of movement making, we had English and we had French primarily. They were the big names. They then outsourced a lot of their work to the Swiss manufacturers, who would have severely long winters, and they'd have to spend, basically 3/4 of the year indoors making these parts. Decided in the end that they could make them better than the English and French. So the Swiss became the the region of great watchmaking, the preconceived area of great watchmaking. We then now look at what Grand Seiko is doing. Do you feel like they are now taking what they've learned from Swiss watchmaking in this area and are now trying their best to outshine them? Is it like this continual package that we're seeing?
I think in a way, yes, and in a way, no. I think what Seiko has done is they've taken what the Swiss have made, but they've sort of made it their own, right? So if you look at the high beat movements, if you look at the quartz movements and the spring drives, it's not. I don't feel like it's just them taking something and making it more efficient, making it better. They're really going their own way, or at least have been, which is, they've been doing great escapements, great finishing, great watches. Obviously, with Creedor, in certain Grand Seikos, they've been trying to do the very, very high end finishing, but they've never went for, like the super highly complicated watches. I know Creedor makes minute repeaters, but that's very limited. But they sort of had this niche, which was super accurate watches, right? Whether they were completely mechanical with high beat, quartz, or spring drive, right? It's like that Japanese precision accuracy.
And what I find quite endearing is that they all have their own. They find native inspirations, should I say? A lot of their inspirations are solely from areas in Japan. I love the depth they go when it comes to looking at mountaintops and different whiskeys and those kinds of organic, natural elements that are part of their backbone.
Especially for their special editions, right? Like we give a lot of companies grief for their special editions, but it's kind of like their special editions have a real deep cultural story behind it, right? Like it's great to like the snowflake, the way they perceive time, the seasons, things like that. It's not, and I have nothing against Omega. I think Omega is a great company, but it's not just like, okay, we're going to make a special edition for this boat racing team, right? When Grand Seiko makes a special edition, let's say for a store, there's still a story, right? Like something that represents the region where the store is. But going back to your question, this is why I think this movement is special, because I kind of feel like it's a break from what they've done so far.
Yeah.
This is them saying, okay, here's the same complexity that you would see in these really, really high-end Swiss movements. And when I say complexity, I don't mean like complexity in general, but this addition of different complications, but more the way that Google Force or FP Jaune would make complications, where the complications are all about timekeeping, right? Complications in service of timekeeping, as opposed to, what, the Patek or Vacheron of the world would do, where they turn around and say, okay, well, we have 65 complications. You can see the month, day, perpetual, right? Like astronomy, all kinds of things. This is more complexity in service of timekeeping, which
that is nuts. It really does look like the top echelon of high-end watchmaking in this zone. Very experimental prototype again. Yes, it looks like a Gero Perigo in many ways. The way they've done the finishing on the movement kind of reminds you of how they would attack it.
Yeah, it's quite something, and you kind of wonder what watch, what kind of watch would have this. Right? Like,
it's going to be something spectacular, no doubt.
Hopefully, different from that Creedor that they're showing. That's less than spectacular.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks like a fashion watch.
Yeah.
Bad to say.
Look, I think you're absolutely right that there's no other way of looking at it. That is a fashion watch, just a very expensive one.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Interesting to see what they're doing. It is always fascinating seeing what Grand Seiko pulls out of their hats because they do. I mean, will they go into the realms of sports watches, do you reckon? I mean, as in, will they, I don't know, expand that line a little bit more in the future?
I mean, I would hope they do. I think it's a tough market to be in, so it's. But I would hope they do. I hope that watches like these give them more recognition and more respect around the world outside of Japan, and then they could branch out in all these different categories.
Wow.
Wow.
Blimey. Look at that.
They call it the shuriken. What is that?
Ninja throwing star. Huh?
That's what I was thinking,
Shuriken.
Thomas.
That's what it's called.
The shuriken. That is just what? You're telling me someone's actually going to wear that? That's pretty cool. I mean, if that can actually detach, that's one hell of a cool safety. Someone tries to steal your watch, back
Right.
off, dude.
I mean, that looks very uncomfortable and dangerous.
Yeah.
Like
And
if you're
it's-
wearing that and you fall, like what happens? Like do you cut arteries?
Emergency
or-
room. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why, just speaking about the image of the brand, this is why people might sometimes scoff at the name. When they see something like this, they go, what were they smoking that day? And then you see the movement finishing at the next page and you think, oh my, it's a completely different brand almost.
Right.
But then Japanese approach has always been very whimsical. They do like that idea that they can be playful at the same time, being serious, but also with a tinge of playfulness too.
Yeah, Orange Hand is saying it might have been an April Fool's prank. I guess we would have
Maybe.
to see what the date on that article was.
At the very top. The 4th, the 1st. Yep,
Yeah,
that's April.
Yeah. April 1st. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That is awesome.
That is so funny. I mean, it would be quite a statement if they did that. And it's kind of like what Moser does with some of their releases. They do like to give the finger to their competitors.
Absolutely.
In many ways.
They had
great.
that release where was that living watch?
Yeah.
It's like,
Fully
yeah,
organic. That was hilarious.
I love when you go to that. I don't know if anybody here has ever gone to the pages on the Moser site for all those joke releases.
Yeah.
But when you go on those pages, there's a disclaimer, and you have to say yes. I have a sense of humor. If you click on no,
That's so good.
if you click on no, you get sent somewhere else. And it's funny because if you like, they used to do one of those every year, and if you listen to the interview with Tim Mosso, when they came out with the one that was really divisive, right?
Yeah,
The Swiss
that's
Icon
Swiss.
watch.
Yeah.
He tells the story that he was talking to Edouard Milan was talking to his brother, and his brother was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if you should be releasing that, right? And Edouard Milan was like, oh, no, I think everybody's going to like this one this time, right? I think like this is the one finally that everybody's going to be happy about. And his brother was like, I don't know. I don't think so. And yeah, turned out nobody liked it.
And they launched. They didn't actually officially launch it, did they? I think they pulled it out of the show at the end.
They had to pull it out, which I thought was like really, stupid. It was going to be auctioned off for charity. I think that watch, what it did is it put a mirror up to the industry, and people didn't like the reflection.
I love that tuna can. That tuna can is fantastic.
I mean, that would be a useful watch, right? Like a survival watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Pull the dial off, and you got a tin of tuna to get you going for another couple of days.
My guess is that you ruined the movement when you pull that off. I don't think the hands are going to survive that. But
That's great.
I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, sure.
so I think that was all the news I had. know, that was a long.
That was a nice segment.
Great one. Yeah.
Great news segment, that, NS. Yeah. Now, I was hoping that you'd be able to help me with Speak Marin watches, because I don't know too much about them, to be honest with you, NS. And I was hoping that you'd be a bit more genned up on them than me.
Yes, Speak Marin is it's kind of an interesting story. I don't know if people here are familiar with Peter Speak Marin.
So it's apparently upon leaving Audemars Piguet Renault Papy, English watchmaker Peter Speak Marin launched his watch company in 2002.
Yep.
Whilst taking a lot of British design influences, Speak Marin operate out of Switzerland, and they offer four luxury collections, which respectively go by the names of 1-2, Horology, Cabinet de Mystery, and Vintage. Every watch is limited supply and stunning in execution, so they say.
So a lot of people regard Peter Speak Marin as a kind of like a master watchmaker, right? In the line of British master watchmakers, and you know who those are, right? And he's very interested in the history of watchmaking. And if you look him up online on YouTube, he's I forget the channel, but he has contributed to a channel, and he talks a lot about the Naked Watchmaker. He contributes a lot there.
Right.
And so a very, very brilliant watchmaker. He started this company. He's not involved anymore. He was also involved with Les Maîtres du Temps. I don't know if you guys know that brand. If you're not familiar with Les Maîtres du Temps, it was a brand where you had master watchmakers collaborate in making watches. So I think the first edition was Peter Speak Marin with somebody else. I know that he worked with. There was one edition that was Kari Voutilainen. Lots of really cool watches that were made, and some of the early Speak Marin watches where Peter Speak Marin was actually involved included some watches that were not unlike the Len watch that we saw before, where they took very old movements, refinished them, old chronographs, and they were made for a British retailer. I forget if it was Harrods or some shop like that. Really, really high-end chronographs. And it's interesting because some of even the early models where Peter Speak Marin was actually involved in the company, you can get them at pretty steep discounts these days. And they have very characteristic lugs, right? Very bulky lugs. They always have that really big crown and that spade style power end. So really interesting company. I'd say a lot of the newer watches, or Peter Speak Marin is not involved. They might not be everybody's cup of tea, but a lot of the original stuff that he made was very cool, very high end.
Yeah, if you click on the, if you just go up, Zippo, and just click on where it says, scroll up, and just click on one of those where it says where it says collections. Just click on either 1-2 or Horology or.
I must say that one with the open.
Scroll down, it'll show you some more watches. So the Horology for this collection, Speak Marin worked with an architectural approach and looked for depth and transparency. The great complications challenging the traditional fine watchmaking codes with the first minute repeater complications seen in a full sapphire case, double vertical tourbillon with rate equalizer, Also, open work movements to a high level finishing and engravings. So they do the open work tourbillon, the vertical double tourbillon over open worked, and the vertical double tourbillon. So there's some quite interesting pieces. You can see with the open work tourbillon on the left hand side, they've got the tourbillon positioned at 1:30.
Interesting.
Which is, rather than at 6 o'clock, like most manufacturers put the tourbillon at 6 o'clock.
Very
It's,
interesting.
Positioned at 1:30. So it's quite
I really love
interesting.
that. I really love that one in the center that we just saw, where it had the double balance, and the really nice placement there. That's that's quite
The
something.
vertical double tourbillon open worked.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't look. We had a look at those Frederic Constance earlier. I mean, this doesn't look kitsch next to the ones that we've just seen. You know, this has quite a nice presence.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the links in the private chat, I did put a link. I found it to those early special edition chronographs. It was the London special edition, and it used a vintage Valjoux 92 caliber.
Okay.
And that's
the London chronograph. Yeah,
Yeah.
that features a vintage chronograph movement, doesn't it? If you
Mhm.
They do one in the London chronograph bronze, and they do a London chronograph who uses movements from the 60s, the caliber Valjoux 92 and the caliber Valjoux 72 in one of them.
Very interesting. I love that 12. I mean, geez, talk about Gothic, high Gothic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And those
Yep.
lugs.
Yeah, they definitely make watches with great presence. One thing I would say though is that the earlier Speak Marins, one thing that might put people off is a lot of them at solid case backs. So even though you have a movement that's very well finished,
Can't see it.
in a lot of cases, yeah, you can't see it.
And they're only making like 10 pieces of these, or 14 pieces of this model we're looking at. They made 14 pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's 42 millimeter with a 40 hours power reserve. It's
Very interesting inspirations. I think Alice of Wonderland, in a way, kind of reminds you of, you know, Queen of Hearts, spade-styled hands. Those numerals are fascinating. Feels
Well, they say about this line, it's like the refurbishment trend in the design, furniture, or car industry. Speak Marin proposes to make old movements revive in new designs. The London Chronograph Collection is a recurrent watch collection concept that re-edits iconic vintage movements every year. The tribute paid to fine watchmaking heritage. The purpose of this collection is to remind people how great the watch industry know-how is in terms of movement development. The great movements from the past keep inspiring designers and engineers of today.
Well, I have to say, I'm a sucker for blue hands, and those really pop.
the size is great. Yeah,
Yeah.
these look awesome.
That spade hour hand is lovely, isn't it?
It is.
Yep. Yeah.
Very
it's-
unique.
There's
Yeah.
a mention from Howdy from Texas saying why number 4 is represented with those 4 lines instead of the traditional Roman 4.
Watchmakers for.
Should we talk about the watchmakers 4
Sure.
to let him know?
Yeah, do it.
At least my interpretation is I believe that it's done in such a way to balance out the 8 on the opposite side and the 12. Normally if you can squint your eyes and you can draw a triangle between those 3 points, it looks pretty neat. I don't know if that is the true meaning behind it, but aesthetically I can see that there's a better balance just between the 4 and the 8 on the dial here. We can see that horizontally it's a bit neater.
Yeah, that's what I've read, that it's to balance out the dial.
Okay.
But what I would say, Howdy, is it is and has always been incredibly divisive. I've seen two reactions when the Watchmakers 4 is present on a dial. You'll basically see people say, "Oh, like finally, the proper 4 that you're supposed to see on a dial," and then you'll have the opposite, people saying like, "No, this is like an insult to Roman numerals." So yeah, it's very, very divisive. And here on top of that, you have Romans and Arabic numerals.
And Arabics together. Yeah, I mean, that is so.
Yeah.
And the Arabics are Gothic, High Gothic, which is just completely. You don't see that actually. The Gothic period. If we look at Victorian era, that's when it started to make a resurgence again in the 1800s. They were all about Roman numerals. They definitely weren't big with Arabics, so it's very peculiar.
Yeah,
It's definitely would rub people the wrong way, I think, if they were trying to look at this from a historical point of view. But it's great. Love
there
it.
are definitely a lot of fonts on this dial.
Yeah, I mean, a California dial on a PAM has nothing on this watch.
Yep.
Very interesting.
So yeah, if you guys like those types of watches, I'd say check out different used watch resellers, Watch Patrol, Watch Recon. They do come up sometimes for very, very low prices compared to what they should be selling for. Especially the older models, you can get them for great deals sometimes.
Let me ask ID guy a question while we have this watch up. What do you like the pump style pushers on this? Does it go with the rest of the watch? Because
yes, I think it does.
Yeah, you do.
Look at the lugs. Look how the lugs work. The lugs are just as actually. If we look at the full picture, we notice how the lugs have that interesting integration with those screws that run into the strap. You can see how there's that kind of relationship with how the pump pushers have this link between the two elements. It seems like it all runs in tandem. I think the one thing that would stand out is the crown. Actually, the crown doesn't seem to be as similar as the other parts. I think it looks great. Very interesting form. I think Breguet the second I see it, but of course it's not the case. And many other brands that attack it this way.
Yeah, it's a very kind of like a old Breguet Marine type of look.
Absolutely.
And Neo's got a good question for the chat. If you prefer Watchmakers 4 Type 1 or Classic
good.
Roman.
Oh, there we go. Good one, Neo.
Nice.
So Classic Roman Type 2 or Watchmakers.
I'm going to cast my vote right now.
I'm all for number 1. I think
me too.
I think there's something about the balance on the dial, and it's a good conversation starter. Let's be honest. I mean, you're dealing with someone who looks at it and says, "Why is?" And then you all of a sudden you got a good essay. You feel intelligent telling someone, "Well, it's the Watchmakers 4," and then all of a sudden it's a little debate going on. It's good.
I'm going to vote 1, but with the caveat that I'd like to own a watch that has each. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's a few more Speak Marins in that first link that I posted, Zippo, in that first Speak Marin link.
I prefer Arabics, Giza says, and I'd have to agree there as well.
Yeah, true.
Is that the Cresta chronograph? No.
So while Zippo posts it, I guess Geezer question and a question for everybody. Looking at this dial, if it's Arabics, do you prefer when you have subdials the ones that get cut off, or like Jaume, the ones where they use a smaller Arabic so that it doesn't get cut off?
I do not want anything to get cut off by the
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
Wow, that's a cool looking piece. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Farah. It's another UK based, hey? We had it on the show yesterday.
Oh, we'll jump onto Farah if you want.
Which one should I be looking for here? We got Speed. Do
Yeah.
you want to just go back to the regular website and then look around there more?
No, I mean, this one's a good
What
start.
do you want to do? Do you want to hop on to Pharaoh, or do you want to go back to Speak Marin?
No, we can hop on to Fair. I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're already over 2 hours right now, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think there's a
Pharaoh-
great talking about that question again about the cutoff numerals. I think there's a great point to be made for both sides actually, because there is something I like about the symmetry of just the typefaces all being the same in size. When they're shrunken down, it might makes you squint a little bit more. You're thinking, was this the best way of it? I don't know. It's also a good point.
Well, what I like about the cutoff ones, right? I do like both. Again, I'm going to be on the fence and say that I like one of each, but I'll say this about the ones that are cut off, which I find really cool, right? It's that especially when it's really cut off, it's not just a subdial applied on top. You have to assume that it's cut off because they actually made the dial, right? With all the indices, the numerals.
Afterthought.
And they probably painted it. They probably finished it well. And then somebody went in and cut a piece of it, basically destroying somebody else's work or their own work, and put in the subdial. So I find that fascinating that somewhere on a shop floor, right, there's these little discs with cut off indices.
And Giza makes a good point. It was right on my mind. I was about to say that it's depending on the overall aesthetics of the watch. It could work in some situations, couldn't in others. I mean, think of the Longines Big Eye as an example of a watch,
right?
That has clear cutoff numerals, but it's just one of those timeless pieces in that line. It just seems to work so well aesthetically, even though there's so much going on. Similar to this in a way.
Yeah, look at this one though. Like, would you blame them if they just didn't put anything at the 2 and the 4? I mean, what's the point of having a squiggle of a 2 and a little bit of 4 there?
Yeah, I'm with you, Neo. I wouldn't have minded this if they had just eliminated it. Yep.
Well, I think in this case though, that's because that's how it used to be, right? Like you can see very early Lemania chronographs, right, with the actual Lemania brand watches from the Second World War, with the whatever the Lemania, the 321 was, and you'll see that they used to do that, right? Actually cut off the pieces of the dial. So I think in this case, for this particular model, it's more like a historical vintage type of thing, more than a real design choice.
Yeah, they're just digging into the archives, having a good look at what other brands have done. Yeah.
So yeah, this is a British brand, Fairer, and they say that the Fairer means to travel or to explore. As a British brand, the spirit of adventure is at the heart of the Fairer ethos. And their collection of watches are named after iconic explorers, vessels, and locations that perfectly define the true spirit of Fairer, ambition beyond the ordinary. And this one's the Cresta model. It's in their Chronograph Sport range. It's a 44mm, 12.9 thick. It's a 58-hour power reserve, and Fairer say that they try to their ambition is simple: to make great watches at fair prices. And born from a love of vintage watches and a frustration at an overpriced market, in 2015 Fairer set out to do things differently by creating a new watch company for the modern era. So they've been going since 2015, and
they are popular in the UK, as far as I know.
In the UK, yeah.
I think these guys make a pretty good watch. I've been watching them for the last few years. I like their GMT, actually.
They've done a world time as well.
They got
really
some
interesting.
nice pieces. So this is the Cresta chronograph. This is £1,680. This one.
Is there any mention about it being? I mean, you look at that subdial; it looks like it's inspired by a regatta timer.
Yeah, I was gonna call that out.
That's very weird.
That's classic Lemania regatta chronograph. It's I wonder if either that or some sort of military thing, or
I mean, you can't have those colors and not think regatta timer, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's direct. 10-minute intervals.
Using a Solita SW510 BH elaborate grade movement with a Polo finishing and blue screws on the main plate and checkered faired monogram. But yeah, I mean, it's taking inspiration from all sorts of things.
I mean, what about those cutoff numerals? Can you scroll up with the loom? That looks pretty awesome.
Very nice.
I like that.
Looks like BGW9.
It's like the numerals are peeking from underneath. Looks really cool.
I mean, if you go on to the next watch, which is the Ferro Chronograph Automatic, the Eldridge. It's another one.
Looks like a Hoya skipper, Maynard says. Yes. I mean, that's a very good point. It does. That same aesthetic. That could have been their inspiration. It's almost like they looked at the Lemania Type 20 styled dials of the time and then blended it in with a skipper, regatta timer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the Eldridge, which is another chronograph of theirs. This is 39 millimeter.
I've got to say, not a fan of those cutoff numerals now. That's a little bit too far. When all those segments, that's a little bit much.
No. That's a bit too much.
I have to say, though, about this brand, they're watches that I feel are priced very well, right, for what they offer.
Yeah, I think they're well priced. I mean, it's 316L microblasted matte case with a anti-reflective dome sapphire crystal. It's got the bronze crown with the Ferro logo and a telemeter scale on the dial, and an exhibition case back showing the bronze turbine designed rotor of the automatic ETA 2894-2 elaborate modular movement. And,
Some very peculiar inspirations. Very peculiar. I mean, you look at that case and you think, wow, that's very modern. And then you have a bronze crown, and then you have a telemeter scale, which is like straight out of the 1940s. You got to, it's like whoa, jumping around.
I feel like the crown is a step too far.
Yeah, bronze crown. Grimy, that thing's going to get winding it. And,
That case is different in the
case looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Those cutout regions really make it look so modern. And then you have a telemeter scale. I guess it's better than a tachymeter because no one uses a tachymeter for its function.
Well, it's handy if you're in an artillery barrage.
Yeah, telemeters for sure. Ideal.
True. So I mean, go from chronographs to the world timer, which is the next one.
That actually looks like a 5070 Patek. Now that I look at it again.
Yeah, I can see the resemblance.
Yeah, we featured this on the show the other day. Yesterday, actually.
Yeah, this is the world timer, 39 millimeters, the Aldrich. It's a 24 time zone and date automatic. It's a mint green grade A superluminova filled alpha style hands. They say at the center of the dial, a map is pictured within the universal 24-hour disc. Framing the dial is an internal bezel with the cities of the world displayed at the trademark A-tips world timer hand pointer. And the main crown controls the time, date, and universal 24-hour disc that is inset with the bronze Ferro trademark. And the offset crown features an embossed world timer mark that controls the inner bezel set 24-hour time zones. An exhibition case back displaying the matte red rotor with the line cut design driving the increasingly rare ETA 2493-1, they say. And a movement with the universal hour indicator, disc and date.
I think this is an older model because we looked at one yesterday that was fully loomed, all the numerals and batons, even the world time disc was also loomed. That must have been a different edition. But this watch does feel like it feels modern everywhere. It feels like all the inspirations are correct.
Yeah, I feel like this watch suffers from their the size of their signature crown. I think it's got like that omega like
Mm.
wart vibe going. But I get why, right? When you have multiple crowns like that, you'll want the crowns to be as similar as possible.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
But I feel like the one at 10 is a bit large.
It's funny, hey, when we think of the first generations of the CMOS professionals, those crowns are really small compared to the ones that we now see, the Reese's cups.
Mhm.
In contrast.
Mm-hmm.
Nice though. I feel like it is very modern in the way it approaches its everything. The dial. I mean, it's what would you call this dial? Not a California dial. It's the I think of Vacheron when I see this. The Vacheron 56. Those
Mhm.
early
Oh,
generation
right,
dials.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Look how
whether the next.
massive that rotor is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's big.
I don't know whether the next one was the GMT that Neo was talking about. It's the Cruise GMT automatic.
And before we move on to another watch,
Yeah.
they've done something which is actually pretty expensive, and that's having a custom date wheel that's in blue.
Yes.
Usually it'll be white or black because that's the standard that ETA will deliver.
Right.
So it's blue. So these guys actually probably have to go in and get their own date wheel manufactured and then swap it.
Had to
So
hold
I
them
think,
up at gunpoint and say, "Hey guys, we need this done."
Yeah, I don't think ETA does custom for anybody, but but at least they got it done somehow, right? So I think that's really a
Yeah,
really cool detail.
good catch, NS.
And the fonts look very similar, if not identical.
Yeah, look at the 8.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, that's it.
Good
When
eye.
you go custom, right? They probably got the right font added there.
Yeah, very
Interesting.
interesting.
Yeah. I
Why
think the mismatched fonts, though, be on dials and date wheels, also has to do with producing that font in such a small size. I don't think it's just like standard versus not standard.
Yeah, you have to make it readable, and not only that, you do need to play a lot with making single digits as big as possible, right? And as readable as possible. And then when you go to 2-digit dates, so they are the size is kind of like variable throughout the month. You're always fighting, trying to make a number that varies greatly in physical size, right? Come out as big and fill as much as that window throughout the month, which is pretty hard.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the problem doesn't have a good solution, so people should change the problem or just deal with the solution that you get.
So you're saying no more dates?
Yes.
Or
I'm down for
display
that.
dates in a different way.
More pointed dates. I'm down.
Yeah.
Pointer
more
dates,
dates,
2-digit dates.
I'm good for no dates. I to be honest, I mean, I have both watches on the watches that I have, and when I'm wearing my a no date watch, like my my Explorer or my Speedy, I don't miss not having the date.
Yeah.
Me neither.
I
No.
made a whole video about reasons why you should appreciate a no date watch, and the main like underlying feature is that it's not taking you away from what you're currently looking at. And when we look at the dates, we sometimes think too far ahead, maybe a week later because we know there's a deadline coming up or something. Having none of that to get in the way of things, it's pretty nice having a clean aesthetic.
It's almost as if we're coming full circle to the beginning of the stream, right? When we're talking about smartwatches and
Yep, for sure.
functionality, and is the date important at all on a mechanical watch? And I find it really, really freeing to have a watch with no date, right? Simple, just time. And
I hope Flip and Zipper is okay.
Yeah, I just dropped that camera. And I'm not using it anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm normally a no date person, except once lockdown happened, I really needed a date.
Really?
Because I just didn't know what day they
Yeah,
were.
it was just everything was just
That's when the
melding into one.
That's when the G-Shock came into its own, was it?
Pretty
Neil?
much, actually. Pretty much.
Yeah, tell me,
Yeah,
one day blended into the next, boy.
It's
Yeah.
basically the same thing you go through between Christmas and New Year's, right? When you don't know what day it is, what's the date,
Yeah.
you have no idea. Yeah, there's something to be said about those, about having that complication and not having that complication. It's I think a lot of collectors keep going back and forth between wanting like the perpetual calendar where the date is always
In
correctly
your face.
set.
Yep.
Yeah, and just saying, like, screw it. I just want to know the time, and even then I might not even care, right? That's like those Moser concepts where it doesn't really matter as long as you're within 5 or 10 minutes. You don't even need to know what time it is. So
I mean, I would love to segue. I'm wearing this little Oris 65, and I've never handled a watch with a date complication where it just disappears when you don't want to see it. I've never. I mean, most of the time when I'm wearing it, I don't even think there is a date on the watch. It's pretty amazing what you can do with, when it comes to hiding a date window. If you don't want it there in the way.
Yep.
Interesting.
And then toss up, symmetry or looking at the date.
Yep.
And
True.
more dates being at the 6 o'clock makes sense to me.
Agreed. I was just about to say that, Zippo, that the more manufacturers move that date from 3 to 6 is the better, because it way more disappears at 6 o'clock than it does at 3.
At 6 o'clock, I agree.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine seeing a date just line being released with the Cyclops at the 6 and what the world would do?
Wow!
What a what a
that
shit
would be
show!
weird.
Everyone would just lose their minds. That would be full on anarchy. Everyone would just completely.
Gotta Photoshop that.
Yeah. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Totally.
Do a day date with the Cyclops at 6.
Yes. I'm going to do it. Oh, this is going to be fun.
On a diver, I think the best place to put the date on a diver, you don't really need a date on a dive watch, but if you are going to put one, I think the best place is like Blancpain on between 4 and 5.
4:30.
4:30. Yep. I was just going to say that, NS. Yep.
When you're underwater and you're using it with the loom, right, the date disappears and you see every single indice and numeral.
Correct.
The way you should see it.
I would love to share a photo. I don't know if it's possible, if we could bring up this little 65 that I'm wearing, just as an example. It's a mind blow how decent it is. I don't know if we're moving off in tangents here, but
no, go ahead.
If Flip and Zippo wouldn't mind. It's Oris Diver 65, and it has these crazy numerals up the quarters. It's pretty easy to find. I think Mr. Porter has one for sale. They've just gone out of stock recently. I think
these watches. Do you want to put yours up on the screen, or
if you can do a Google search, if it's easy enough to open up a tab. I don't know if.
Yeah, for sure.
But very good point. I mean, dates on dive watches. It's kind of a faux pas when you think about it.
I mean, unless you're going on a really, really long dive, but
yeah. There on the far right-hand side, you see it has has a strap at the shopping section there. I don't know how it would be easier. Let's see. See, the problem is now they've phased out all the original dials, and they only have these very basic models. On the far right-hand side, that one there.
Shit, hang on.
I need to give you credit, ID guy.
Yeah.
Watches that you buy,
they're all the same.
So you. All
Yeah, it's funny. You stumble across these aesthetics that just sing to you, and I don't know how it worked out, but all of a sudden, watches with batons and numerals on the dials just do it for me.
I can't wait until you get your hands on the Explorer. You're gonna fall in love with that.
That's coming next week. Would you believe? I'm actually getting one into review, and it's gonna be incredible. So see where that date is? It's right above that 6.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even notice it's there. The way it's been integrated into the minute track and everything, it's virtually invisible to the naked eye.
Oh.
There's that Archer font.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very good point. I mean, that's fascinating. Didn't even think about it. I hadn't seen that series in years.
It's just automatic for me now.
Yeah, anyway, I don't want to sidetrack us from all the other pieces that are coming up. So,
Yeah, that
Yeah,
is.
I think
It's a great. It's a beauty to watch.
we're going on what?
Yeah,
2
we're
hours
almost
and-
2.5 hours. So
good grief.
maybe we
Yeah.
should wrap this up and save stuff for next week.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
haven't
it's up
done
to you
this in
guys.
like 6 weeks. I'm kind of lacking the stamina to keep going.
Plus, ID guy has to keep his record of 4 and 5 hour
Four
live
hours.
streams.
It's like something like 4 hours, 2
4
minutes.
hours
Eh?
last night. Yeah.
God.
Yeah, ID guy, the way it's time, right? I'm in the Eastern time zone in North America, so I always take a break during your show for like dinner.
Fantastic. And it's still up. It's still going.
And I always come back from dinner, and like sometimes when I know it's going to be really, really long, I come back from dinner. You've been doing it for like 2.5 hours, and you name the next watch owner, and it's like starts with a D. And I'm like,
It's ridiculous, right? And then but the thing is, when you think of the alphabet, you don't get many Z's and many X's and many W's, and so it does. There's a point where, it makes sense though. It's ridiculous. You can still be on. You can still be on B. Hour and a half in.
After 2.5 hours, you would hope that you're at least at L or something.
Yesterday was great when you were over an hour in and you were still on B. I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a long one.
You know it's going to be a monster. Yeah, that last half an hour, I must say. I don't know what it is. You get a second wind though. I mean, mixture of coffee and alcohol does wonders, I can tell you.
You know what you should really do? You should scare your viewers by accumulate like a lot of wrist shots and do one show where you only do A's for 3 hours.
Yeah.
After 3 hours, people are tuning in. Shit, what's going on?
Go back through the history books and do that.
Oh, jeez. But again, I think Hans mentioned such a good thing because I literally have 15 folders of submissions over the last 15 episodes of about 150 watches. And to make a coffee table book out of that for a year, an annual catalog of some kind.
That is a really good idea.
All the best shots.
You got to do that.
I'm going to check up some prices and see if it's possible because, hell, it would be such a win. Everyone's name's credited, all the watches and the references there. And we can just, as it is, as a glossary for people to look at variety in one spot. Sounds pretty exciting. Really find it.
Worth doing some crowdfunding for, man.
It's an idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Can you ask your viewers to submit one watch per week?
I wish. That's what I say. I say send in a wrist shot and then I get a collection or I get 5. And then it's kind of like you weigh up the options and go, is this good enough? Should I use this? Trust me, I'm going to talk about duplicates. There can be 5 photos of one watch and they're all fantastic. And you have to sit there at the end like culling the herd and saying, okay, I have to take 2 of these, not 5, 2. 2 is the maximum. Yeah, so it is.
It's a hell of a show, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Best one out there by far.
Thank you so much, ID guy, for joining us.
Yeah,
really
guys,
appreciate it.
It's a joy. It's a time when I can chat to everyone. I mean, speaking for 4 hours nonstop, it takes it out of you. Being able to actually sit and listen and just not interact fully, it's a big bonus, I can tell you. That would be good. That would be
Good
so
one,
good.
Origin.
That would be so good. Just a paragraph, preface.
Yeah, it could be useful, when you're teaching your kids how to read at a 3-year-old level. Something like that.
Broken
English.
Just write it yourself and then just put Archie's name next to it as a joke.
Yeah, that's probably
why not?
the best, yeah.
Get his signature somehow. It's a nice idea.
And thank you to everybody who participated in the chat today, and
Yeah,
to
thanks, everyone.
to Clyde for coming on earlier.
Yeah.
Give Flippin' a thumbs up.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
If you could give us a
please.
thumbs up, people, we would appreciate it.
That'd be great.
Everyone in the chat, You're always a big part of the show, and it's great to
Absolutely.
read all your comments. So,
Yeah, community engagement is the big bonus, I think. Dan, I love that avatar. Oh, jeez.
Good.
Thank you, Junior. Again, thank you
Yep.
so much.
Yeah, really.
And
Junior,
just have to shout out Junior's joke for the day. What's the difference between a hippo and a zippo? One's kind of heavy, the other's a little lighter.
That's fantastic.
That's a great one,
Wow.
Junior. We love it.
nice.
Hotsy, thank you for joining us. We're just about to wrap it up, though.
Hot
Yeah.
seats, the new Doc BBW.
The new dog BBW. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thanks, Archie. Great to see you.
yep. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care of yourselves out there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Take care, everyone.
Later, fellas.
Take care.